am very pleased to welcome back to Montreal Now, Carmi Levy, CTV's tech analyst. And Carmi, I was so pleased when I saw on your list of topics that Meta is rolling out some new features for scam protection, because it seems every week we hear about a new scam.
Yeah, I mean, this is so overdue. I've been holding my breath and waiting for an announcement like this for years. As the reports continue to pile up and as victims continue to reach out to me saying, look, this happened to me, what do I do? And the company just radio silence. So now, finally, they're introducing new features across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and basically it'll make it easier to identify when somebody is impersonating either a brand or a celebrity, or if they are using deceptive links that are meant to look legitimate but aren't. And they're also going to put new alerts into place so that if you're messaging back and forth with a possibly fraudulent account, they're going to use AI in the background to identify whether that account is, in fact, on the up and up. And if it isn't, you're going to get a warning. Hey, you might be speaking with someone who isn't who they say they are. So it's rolling out on Facebook. It's rolling out on WhatsApp. If you get a device link request, you're going to get a notification of that you probably shouldn't. And Messenger is also going to include those account warnings too. So this is really a good thing, because impersonation type fraud has been rampant across all of Meta's tools for years. And now finally we're going to get a little bit of upfront kind of warnings that if it detects it in the background, you're going to get a red flag, and hopefully you'll be able to cut them off and not be defrauded in the process.
Can you give us a little example, Carmi, of a scam like that you have heard of fooling people?
Yeah, and this touches on media. A lot of folks that I work with in media, including, from Bell Media's family, CTV. For example, there will be an anchor, Omar Sachedina, the anchor of CTV National News, has been in videos that have circulated widely on Facebook where he claims to be, pushing some crypto scheme. And there's a video of him. Of course, it's a deepfake video. And there's the CTV logo, and it looks legitimate. But of course it isn't. And if you click on it, and if you interact with it, and if you give them your personal information, you will be defrauded. And so it hits very close to home for a lot of people, including me working in media. And unfortunately, a lot of people are being, they think that, the anchor of the national news is hawking this. They think that our prime minister is hawking this as well. There have been videos involving Mark Carney, previously Justin Trudeau. So they're all over the place. And in fact, it doesn't take much effort to find them even now. And so probably a good idea for us to, start getting active warnings, because obviously too many people are still being fooled.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Meta, it has made a purchase, and I don't quite understand the significance of where this might go. It is buying the social network for AI bots that everyone has been talking about. What?
Yeah. It's kind of weird. So it's called Moltbook, and it was all the rage just about a month ago. If you've ever used Reddit, and Reddit is kind of like the online community or forum of the internet. It's kind of the place where everyone goes to talk about stuff. And so Moltbook looks like Reddit, but instead of humans doing the talking back and forth, it is bots. It's what are known as AI agents. And basically what an AI agent is, it's the next generation of AI. When you and I use ChatGPT, we ask it a question, we get an answer. But an AI agent, it does all the drudge work for us. If we want it to plan a trip for us, we just tell it to go do it. It goes away and it books all of our hotels and our flights and our car rentals and all the activities. And then it comes back to us like a good AI travel agent should. And so AI agents really are the next big thing. And the question was, what happens when we take a bunch of AI agents and we just put them in the same virtual space? How will they behave with each other? Will they do good? Will they try to cure diseases?
Will they plot our demise?
Exactly. And so the worry was, and this is why it got so much attention, and there were literally millions of bots that were created and kind of set loose on Moltbook, that the worry was that, they would get dystopian on us. They would try to take over humanity. And in some cases, they were talking about that. They were talking to each other, critiquing humans and saying, this is how we're going to take over the world. In other cases, they were trying to rip other bots off, maybe try to sell them crypto, or defraud them with phishing messages. It was rampant, which basically reflects the fact that the AI world is just as messed up as the real world. And as it turns out, we don't have to worry about our AI overlords taking over just yet, because Moltbook, it turns out, wasn't all automated. There were some humans pulling the strings in the background. But, Meta has decided, and Meta, of course, needs to figure out what AI can do for its business. And they've incorporated Meta AI into Facebook and Instagram and other platforms. And so they bought Moltbook as a way of kind of boosting their AI cred, boosting their ability to create AI and relevant tools, and make Meta AI, which is the AI bot that's included in all these social media apps, make it smarter, make it more of an agent, an AI agent. And so this is kind of the way the industry works. If something gets really popular, gets everyone's attention, and suddenly becomes, really hot, it garners the attention of the big tech companies who think, I can either develop this myself or I can buy them. So Meta wrote a check, we don't know how big, and the developers of Moltbook are now going to be employees of the company.
It was, on another topic, distressing to hear about the OpenAI link to that school shooting and the mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC, when we found out that the shooter had been using OpenAI, and there had been some concern about his use of OpenAI at the time. Now we hear there is a lawsuit afoot.
Yep. So one of the victims, she's 12 years old. Her name is Maya Gabala. Thankfully, she survived. She is recovering from her injuries. And her mom is suing OpenAI for essentially acting as what she calls a collaborator, trusted confidant, friend, and ally of the shooter. And unlike Google, which presumably shooters for years have been using as a way of learning about how to be a shooter, ChatGPT actually gives you a fully formed answer. And so there is evidence based on the logs of the shooter's activities on ChatGPT that they were asking for details on how to carry out such an attack. And so, you put that kind of information in the hands of someone who, has the potential to commit violence, and look what happened here. So this could be a watershed event. This could be the case that kind of breaks the logjam and holds companies like OpenAI accountable for not doing more to recognize when people are using its apps for violence or to plan violence. And ultimately, if they win this case, it sets a really important precedent, not only for other AI companies, but for other social media companies. The industry needs to be more responsible, and this is definitely a case that we're going to be watching closely.
Well, I think one of the disturbing things about that case is that the human beings behind OpenAI had this material flagged, discussed it, and decided that the shooter's use did not amount to something that merited passing along to police. But it seems to me there should be erring on the side of caution to some degree with this. Maybe that'll be one of the side effects of the lawsuit.
Very much so. They at the time they said because the automation, the AI and machine learning did flag this individual's account, and then it was escalated to senior leadership. And despite the fact that over a dozen employees were imploring senior leadership to call the police, share this with the police, they said, you're right, it didn't meet that minimum. It didn't suggest imminent violence, and so they didn't take that additional step. And they suspended the individual's account, but then the shooter simply opened up a new account and continued to use it without it being flagged. So every opportunity for a human who cared about life to step in and say, this is dangerous, this just doesn't look right, I need to call the cops to just have a conversation, they said no, no, no. And that, to me, is what's most heartbreaking about this. And cases like this could potentially change the equation, because right now, tech companies don't behave in a way that's consistent with public safety. They don't have to. There's no law that requires them to. So as unethical and amoral as it seems for them to not call the police, they're not going to be punished for it. Well, if this case is ultimately winnable, they might be forced to change their tune. Governments might finally start getting tough on them. And I say it's about time for that to happen.
Hear, 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 hear. Carmi Levy, always wonderful to speak to you.
Really appreciate being with you, Trudy. Thank you.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.